Rhonda. How you doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to get a chance to talk to you about this new project you have. Expecting the Unexpected it's going to launch this week. I'll get into the details about the Kickstarter and everything else going on. I know you have a Comic-Con appearance coming up this week, but can you tell me where the idea or, kind of when you thought that this would be a good medium for you to tell a story? Because you are a couple months removed from My Fight, Your Fight, your official autobiography. So what was sort of the creative process behind expecting the unexpected?
Well, I've actually started working on this before the book. This is about 5 years in the making. And it just started off as me wanting to write my own Rocky, that no one handed Sylvester Stallone a greenlit project for himself to star in. And I wanted to take that kind of initiative because, I've been obsessed with fight choreography and like martial arts cinema for so long. And I feel like I have so much to offer, and I've really never been given the opportunity to prove myself. So I was like, why not create one? And I ended up really getting the idea for this when Paul Heyman, right during the Go Home show before our main event WrestleMania, asking, he was like, well, what kind of movie do you want to star in? And I never really thought about that. I just been kind of like passive and like waiting for some or just frustrated and waiting for someone to hand me the perfect opportunity without even really putting much thought into what that would be. And so I was really thinking like, okay, what is a part that no one could play better than me? And I've always, of course, wanted to do, action, martial arts, but where I was in my life at the time was I was trying to get pregnant. And what ended up coming out in an 11-hour writing binge was a martial art romantic comedy. And it was kind of like a genre mashup that I've never seen before. And in trying to, create for myself a part that no one could play better than me, I ended up writing something that no one could have written other than me. And of course, the first draft was god awful, and I couldn't get any help with it. I couldn't find any other writers. I couldn't find anyone else to really believe in it. I'm some fighter chick. How is anyone going to think that I wrote anything of substance? So I spent the next couple years, obsessing over writing and learning everything that I could, watching every masterclass and YouTube video and reading every book that I could. And I ended up interning at the story department at WME under Adam Novak, who's the head of their story department, and becoming not an official reader for them. I don't know if they actually use my coverages, but he would give me multiple scripts a week for me to write coverages and to really learn the craft the best way I could without being able to go to like film school or anything like that. And it was kind of like my private passion that I would really like put my mental energy into it when I was just really worn out with, other things, or stressed out about other things, when I was wrestling and like had all kinds of anxiety with like not knowing what we were going to do the next day, dealing with like, Vince McMahon and all of that drama that was going on. It kind of became like my respite from everything, that I'd be able to take all of that, mental energy and put it into something creative. And so the story has been evolving over 5 years, and it got to a point where I'm like, if no one's going to, I'm totally unproven as a lead in Hollywood. I'm even less proven as a writer. Like, no one's going to to believe in this or finance it. But I was so in love with the story. I'm like, I really need it to be told. Like, I can't stop obsessing about it. It's been 5 years. Like, it's not going away. Yeah. And so I'm a big nerd for graphic novels and comics. And that's why I finally got the light bulb of like, what if this could be a graphic novel? I mean, the action itself, there's a lot of choreography in it, you know, because I'm a big nerd for fight choreography. It's why I got into wrestling in the first place. But I believe it could be translated into a graphic novel with the right process and the right team. And that's when, Axel Alonso was the former editor-in-chief of Marvel, got a hold of the script and absolutely loved it. He teamed me up with Mike Deodato, who is, Eisner Ringo Award-winning artist and a martial artist. And I went and filmed the fight choreography. So, like, I curated it in a way that would fit a graphic novel better. Mm-hmm. And filmed it, and then me and Mike together basically would take this film and refine it and into a way that you could actually understand it and follow along this kind of action in a comic. And you don't usually, I don't think I've ever seen like grappling sequences or anything like that in a comic book in a way that's like really exciting in a way that really flows, you know. And so I think really created something entirely unique to the medium, and it's packaged in what I think is an adorable love story that is punctuated with, fighting off assassins and dealing with pregnancy symptoms. So it's something that's extremely unique and near and dear to my heart, and I hope that it touches other people as much as it's touched me in my life.
I can tell you're very passionate about this, so I think it's gonna translate. But you mentioned that you were doing story editing, or was that well known while you were doing that when you said you were interning?
Oh, I was doing script coverage.
Okay.
So it's basically it's like a dark art in Hollywood where like people will submit a script, say to WME, and be like, we thought that maybe, Jack Black might be interested in this part, Yeah. And so a lot of times they're not reading every single script that comes in. They hand it over to the story department and they're like, hey, write me a summary of this and give us your evaluation and grade it. Mm-hmm. And if we think your recommendation is good enough, then we'll read it. And then if we like it, then we'll hand it to the talent. Yeah. And so it's kind of like a way to shorthand the massive amount of scripts that come through. And I guess it's considered like grunt work, but everything that I've researched and learned about screenwriting over and over again, I would keep hearing you have to be a reader in order to learn. You have to be able to read and write coverage in order to get the best education in screenwriting. And I just didn't have the time with wrestling and everything like that, and having a family and kids to go off to film school and learn screenwriting. So this was what I would do every night, whereas I would, put my baby to bed at 8 and stay up until whatever o'clock in the morning I would have to in order to read the script and write my coverage. And that was just kind of like my informal education that I was giving myself in, I wouldn't even call it my free time and my sacrifice sleep time, just because it was just an obsession that I couldn't stop. But I don't know, you might have guessed from my jumping from one obsession to the next for my entire professional career that I have a tendency to fixate on things and obsess over them, and I can't deviate or think of anything else. If I'm fighting, when I was doing judo, it was all I could think about all day long and all I would do. And I would be on the mat and work on this one specific thing over and over for hours. And then going into MMA, it was the same thing. And going into pro wrestling, the same thing. And so like, this has just captured my passion and my undivided attention for years now. I know it's not a passing phase, and it's like literally like a compulsion. Like I can't stop it. I have to write and tell these stories. And I feel like it's one of the like most positive things that I've ever discovered for myself and my mental health. Is like, if I ever feel my mind going to a negative place, I can just force it onto what I'm working on creatively and spend that mental energy on creating something instead of like ruminating, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. You're finding a positive outlet for, your feelings that some people might internalize it. You're doing it in a creative aspect, in, like you mentioned, many different avenues, whether it's mixed martial arts or pro wrestling or now writing. So, I have a lot of respect for that. And I want to...
Thank you. And you can't beat the crap out of your body forever, unfortunately, I'm discovering. I better fight it since I was 19. You know what I mean? It's like, I need to find an activity where I am not taking impacts.
Well,
come on.
This one's low. This one's low impact.
Yes. Yeah. I do have to find a really good chair, though.
It's harder than you think.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to the artwork, because this is one of the first things, the cover that caught my eye. There's obviously the story you're telling, pregnant assassin, and then there's some other people on the cover. And you mentioned Paul Heyman. I can't ignore the fact that one of these guys bears a resemblance to him. Is that like, did you have a hand in that?
He's definitely very unsubtly inspired the main antagonist, and there's a very purposeful nod in his direction. And I did write a character that I just pictured his cadence and the way he talks and the way that his charisma and his ways of his emotions could flip from one side to the other, that kind of can feel unsettling in a way. And yeah, he definitely, I definitely did some some dream casting, because originally I thought I was going to be able to take this to WWE studios when they were actually doing stuff. I was like, oh, well, I could write something, and because they were doing if they could do the Marine, 7, that I could be able to bring them something that I feel like is even better quality of writing that they would be able to do. And I don't know. I think they're closing down WWE studios. I don't even think they're making anything anymore. So originally I was dream casting out of the WWE roster. So then I had to alter things when we ended up going another way. But I did tell Heyman, I'm like, listen, you have to be this character. Whatever I do, if it ever gets made, even if it's just in the comic, it just has to be. It has to be you. So that's my one way to give a tip of the hat and my thanks to him.
I'm sure the wise man appreciates that. The San Diego Comic-Con is coming up. You're going to be on a panel with Axel Alonso, Mike Deodato Jr., and this one was a pleasant surprise. Dave Bautista is going to be the moderator for the event. So a lot to look forward to. It's the same day the Kickstarter kicks off. What are you expecting from San Diego, and just maybe getting to have a forum with Dave? Because I don't think you guys have ever worked together. Have you?
Honestly, no. I'm so shocked that he agreed to do this, because he was the top of my dream list of who do you think can moderate it? I'm like, wouldn't it be so cool if David Batista did it? And I'm like, there's no way on earth that he's going to say yes. And he actually did. I'm like, how I'm like forever indebted to this man. And yeah, I mean, we've like met before, and he's always been like such a, so polite and respectful and a sweetheart. But I mean, he doesn't owe me a damn thing, and he's like, so in demand and everywhere these days that I can't believe that Drax is coming to my panel at Comic-Con when he's literally like a Marvel star. So it's very humbling, and I'm extremely grateful, and I'm looking forward to it. I think just as much to talk about this as it is to be able to talk about this with David Bautista on the stage, who he's dealt with and conquered a lot of the problems that I was trying to face creating this project, and trying to create a space for myself, in that industry, coming from another where people really, it's hard to get them to take you seriously and see you as anything else other than what you've been in other spaces.
And what a career he's had in Hollywood so far. I mean, you mentioned Drax, but the fun thing about watching his career, I think, is when you ask what's his best movie or what's his most memorable role, like, I feel like you always get a variety of answers because he's shown so much range. So it's really cool that and
he's been at it for so much longer.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in it for so much longer than people realize. Like, I first met him at the Man with the Iron Fist premiere, which was years before he landed Drax.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that people don't see is the work that you do that is behind the scenes, that all of the different things that you're trying out for and get rejected for that nobody knows about. And then like he shows up as Drax and getting all these opportunities, and it seems like it's out of nowhere, but like I know that he'd been working at that already for years. And his like perseverance and his like progress from coming into the industry as an adult and like being such a respectable actor now. I mean, I think take away anything else that he's ever done, just as an actor, I am so impressed with his range and everything that he's done. I mean, I was just watching The Boy and the Heron, and I'm like, oh my God, he's in The Boy and the Heron too? He's a Canary King? Like, it's just so incredible. And I never would have guessed, it's not like you hear it and you're like, oh, that's so-and-so. Like, he really like disappears into his parts. And I really feel like that's the kind of mastery that I can only aspire to reach someday.
That'll be exciting to check out this week. As I mentioned, it's the same day that the Kickstarter launches. Very easy to find. Just search either Ronda Rousey or Expecting the Unexpected on Kickstarter, and you can get all the details about the launch coming up this week. I have a couple more questions for you. First one, I usually do a watch list feature, and I just wanted to see if you had a match that best represents what you wanted to bring to pro wrestling. When it was all said and done, you're like, all right, this is what I aspired to be when I set out to enter the world of pro wrestling.
I mean, a couple, I think the tie between, I think my debut at WrestleMania, I think it was 38, 34, who knows? You don't see all these numbers.
Right? Whatever. It was New Orleans.
Yeah, it was me and Kurt Angle versus Steph and Triple H. I feel like that's like a tag team classic now. And that is what really just made me fall absolutely head over heels with it from the get-go. And then on the other side of the spectrum, I would say me and Charlotte at Survivor Series, when we walked out to a completely hostile audience that wanted to shit all over the match, and we put on such a good performance that we had them chanting "This is awesome" by the end of it. And that was, I think, like the first one was was me being set up to succeed with all the time in the world to prepare and all of the best minds in the business helping me, resulting in an amazing product. I mean, yeah, and an amazing, result. I think me and Charlotte Survivor Series was the exact opposite. It was everything stacked against us, no time to prepare, and, really very minimal outside help, and a hostile crowd, and we shoved it down their throats and made them enjoy it anyway. Even though those ungrateful shit booed me on the way out. I know for a fact that they were enjoying themselves, even though they didn't want to, like, by the end of it. And so I'm very, very proud of that one as well.
And at least you guys knew, you won them over, so they were trying to save face, right?
Yeah, I don't know, but it wasn't about them. It was about the match, exactly. And the match was fantastic.
You know what? I enjoyed that one, and like you said, what a debut. I think it opened people's eyes to, okay, wow, this is really, like, she's really gonna be something as a wrestler. I know you kind of returned to the ring after last year. You had your SummerSlam match with Shayna. Then came back out. It was a big surprise. You worked Lucha Vavoom, Pro Wrestling Revolver, and then you had the Ring of Honor match. At the time, you said, you're really just focused on being a full-time mom, not really looking to sign anywhere. But have the offers stopped since those 3 matches that I just mentioned? Like, are you still getting? Because I know a lot of people say, when is she going to come back to UFC? But do you still get that sort of attention from pro wrestling?
I mean, yeah, I feel like it's a good thing. I guess it means that I'm missed. Is that if people still to this day ask me if I'm going to be fighting or going to be wrestling. But yeah, I mean, like my last run, just with Vince and Bruce Pritchard and John Laurinaitis, just was such a negative experience. I know that. Most of them are gone. Bruce's little shit ass is still around, but I'm not overly excited to come back like I was the last time. I think just even though like I had so many matches that I very much enjoyed and had a great time, like when I look back on it, I don't really think of like the joy that I had in those matches and those live shows, that I had so much fun. I just think of like the anxiety of never knowing, what was going on until the very last minute, and not being allowed to prepare and getting our time cut over and over and over again. And it was just like the experience itself was so needlessly stressful. I think that's what drove me so hard toward, screenwriting and graphic novels, and this story is kind of like a refuge from that. And I know that things are a lot different now. I've heard from the girls so much better, but it's kind of hard to like shake that and be excited to come back like I was before.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you are keeping busy with writing. You have a great job. You said like I'll admit it too. Like there's no better job than being a parent, even if my kids are upstairs waiting to drive me nuts after I end the call. But like,
yeah, and imagine taking them on the road every week, like flying with them and going to different cities. Like it's hard on kids, and after a while, you have to think like, am I doing this for me or am I doing this for them? And it got to a point where it was just too much to be putting my baby girl through. It was too much time to spend away from my husband and my boys, and we want to have more kids, and I can't imagine taking multiple kids on the road or leading one home. You know what I mean? Like, family's got to come first, and it's just we want to have like a whole army of kids, and I've been putting it off long enough. I gotta get to work.
Well, you'll have enough material for a sequel book. You'll have a team of assassins. But first, we gotta.
Let's be honest. I already wrote a sequel. Oh. I couldn't help it, but we'll see if there's enough demand to actually bring it to print.
We'll have to get through this week. We'll have to get expecting the unexpected. We'll have to wait for that first before we talk about sequels. But obviously
Exactly.
plug the Kickstarter. Anything else you want to plug or promote before we get out of here?
Yeah, browsetheacres.com if you want to buy my regenerative Wagyu or poultry. We sell direct to consumer all over the U.S. And yeah, it's all me and my family eat. We were actually just promoting it this morning on like local news in Hawaii. We have a meat truck. I mean, a food truck out here that we supply. And yeah, you should try it out. It's quite strange. Hi, baby. You found me. I was hiding. I have been discovered. Baby boss. Boss baby.
Usually it's mine that interrupt calls, so I welcome anybody. COVID kind of made it cool to interrupt stuff, so hi.
Yeah, it made it acceptable, thank God.
Welcome to the call. All right, I guess on that note, I'll let you get back to it. Thank you very much for the time, and I look forward to checking out the book and seeing what happens with the Kickstarter and the sequel you just teased.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you for the time.